Welcome to Time of Death. This video is for informational purposes and in no way meant to glorify or condone violence. In today's video, we'll be discussing the murders of Sanisha Miller, Ronald Carter, and Andrew Williams. All three were shot and killed on Sunday, March 29, 2009, in the 1200 block of Rosecrans Avenue in Compton, according to LA County coroner records. Jesse Robles, Jose Prieto, and Hector Prieto were subsequently arrested and charged with the murders. The following is the evidence at trial. The Prieto brothers lived with their mother in Compton. Their mother was arrested on March 28 and was being held in jail at the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department Century Station. Her bail was set at $50,000. Defendants Hector, Jose, and Robles are members of the Barrio 13 gang. Hector's moniker is Little Dopey, Jose's moniker is Dopey, and Robles' gang moniker is Little Duende. Jesus Saldana was a friend of all three defendants and a member of Barrio 13. Saldana was 27 years old when he testified at trial under a grant of immunity. Hector, Saldana, Jose, and Robles sat within a few feet of one another in the Prieto's living room on the morning of March 29. According to Saldana, Hector and Jose discussed plans to commit a robbery to raise $50,000 to bail their mother out of jail. Robles agreed to help and told Jose and Hector, "I got your back." Saldana planned to participate in the robbery, but his wife later dissuaded him from doing so because he wouldn't receive any of the proceeds. Later that afternoon, Jose went to a Compton apartment shared by Miss Avila and her husband and children. Avila's husband is a friend of defendants, and their apartment building was a hangout for Barrio 13 gang members. Jose asked Avila's husband to drive him somewhere, but he was drunk, so Avila agreed to do it. Jose told Avila they were going to Robles' house. Avila drove defendant Jose in her black Volvo, and Robles drove defendant Hector in a white pickup truck. Jose wore a black hooded jacket. When Avila asked Jose why they needed a ride if Robles had a truck, Jose said it was low on gas. Avila followed the truck, passing gas stations, and both vehicles stopped about a block from Robles' house. Hector and Jose left the vehicles, walking towards Rosecrans and out of Avila's sight. Robles and Avila stayed behind in their cars. Victim Andrew Williams was a marijuana dealer who sold marijuana from his apartment on East Rosecrans in Compton, from a nearby barbershop and a driveway next to the barbershop. A witness, who was the victim's friend and customer, parked and headed towards the victim's apartment with $90 to buy marijuana. As the witness walked toward the driveway near the victim's apartment, he saw a bald male wearing a black hoodie leaning against the wall near the victim's apartment. The witness later identified the man as defendant Jose. The hood covered Jose's head at first. As he walked past him, he heard what he thought were 4 firecracker sounds or gunshots. Jose approached the witness and pointed a revolver at him. He asked, "What do you got?" As he did so, Jose's hood came down for an instant. Jose grabbed the witness's money, the witness ran away, and Jose counted the cash. The witness went to the barbershop for help. He told the employees and patrons he had just been robbed. One barber, who heard 3 shots before the witness arrived, went to a nearby apartment to check on his friends who lived there. Upon entry, the barber saw 3 dead bodies, later identified as victims Williams, Carter, and Miller. Meanwhile, about 5 minutes after they left, defendants Hector and Jose returned to the cars, walking briskly. After Jose got back into Avila's car, she asked him what had happened. He said nothing had happened, everything was fine, and told her to leave. Both vehicles went back to Avila's apartment complex. Once there, Avila watched Hector, Jose, and Robles high-fiving several other men in a congratulatory fashion. That evening, Detective Paul Fournier and other members of the Sheriff's Department arrived at the scene of the triple murder in Williams' apartment. Williams' body was on the ground near the front door. Carter's was a few feet away on the floor, and Miller's body was slumped over a chair. One of Carter's pants pockets had been turned inside out. All 3 victims had been shot in the head. Miller suffered a gunshot wound that went through her wrist and another gunshot wound to the top of her head. When he entered the apartment, Detective Fournier smelled a strong odor of unburnt marijuana, and he saw small amounts of marijuana scattered around. Information released by the police to the public was very general. It said only that 3 people had been murdered at the scene. Detective Fournier did not recall that the police statement to the media revealed either the victim's gender or the nature of their injuries. The press release did not contain specific information about the number of bullets fired, the type of gun used, or the injuries to Miller's wrist and head. Defendant Hector posted bond for his mother at 11:54 p.m. on March 29. Saldana drove Hector to pick up his mother at the sheriff's station the next morning after she was released from custody at about 9 a.m. Later on March 30th, Saldana drove Hector, Jose, Robles, and the mother to Aladdin bail bonds. On March 30th, Saldana saw an early morning news report about a local triple murder. He feared his friends had been killed. Saldana, his wife, and their children drove to the Prieto's home where he encountered Jose and Robles sometime after 8:30 a.m. Saldana asked them what had happened. They said everything was cool. Jose asked Saldana to drive to the police station to get Hector and to see if his mother had been released. Hector got into Saldana's van at the police station. A television in the van was broadcasting a news story about the triple murder. Miller's mother was tearfully asking for help from anyone with information about her daughter's murder. Hector laughed at the broadcast and began to tell Saldana how he committed the murders. Hector told Saldana that the night before, he had gone to the victim's apartment and knocked on the door. When the man, Williams, answered, Hector asked him for a 20 sack and shot him in the head when he turned around. He shot another guy, Carter, on the couch, and then shot a girl who had put up her hand and begged for her life. That shot went through the girl's raised hand and hit her head. All 3 shots were dome shots. Hector took about $4,000 to $5,000 and some weed, wiped the doorknob with his shirt or sweater, and left the apartment. Jose had stood outside by the front door while Hector shot the victims, and Robles stayed at the corner. The gun Hector used had only 3 bullets. When Jose got in the van, he also began telling Saldana how the crimes had been committed. He told Saldana he was outside the door of Williams' apartment, acting as a lookout when the shooting occurred. He wore a black hooded sweatshirt. He planned to kill anyone who tried to get inside. On April 28, the sheriff's department searched Saldana's home in the course of a neighborhood sweep and seized 51 baggies of marijuana. Saldana and his wife were arrested, and their children were detained by the Department of Children and Family Services. Upset and angry about what had happened to his family and in his neighborhood, Saldana told the deputies he had information about the triple murders and wanted his wife released from jail. Saldana was interrogated by Detective Fournier and Cal Wett on April 29th, who immediately told him his wife had been released from custody. Saldana told the detectives what Hector and the other defendants told him about the robbery and triple murder. He also said a woman in a black Volvo was connected to the crimes. Saldana directed detectives to his cell phone, which contained the defendants' phone numbers, and identified them in photo lineups. Saldana expressed concerns for his family's safety and his own. As a gang member, Saldana knew that if you snitch, you die. On May 5th, Detective Fournier interviewed the witness and showed him 4 six-pack photographic lineups. The witness identified defendant Jose as the man who robbed him. He was 100% certain of his identification. On May 6th, a canine scent discrimination lineup was prepared using defendant Hector's shirt and the pants pocket of the murder victim that had been turned inside out. In the scent lineup, 4 boxes were placed in a specific formation, 3 of which contained scent pads from Hispanic men unconnected to the triple murder. The 4th contained Hector's scent. A dog sniffed the pocket taken from the crime scene and alerted to the box containing Hector's scent. Deputy Salgado, a member of the Sheriff's Department's gang task force in Compton, testified as the prosecution's gang expert. He testified about his qualifications as a gang expert generally. Deputy Salgado had specific expertise as to the Barrio 13 gang because his entire background had involved that gang, and most of his patrol training had been conducted in the Athens area, which is the gang's territory. Deputy Salgado had been charged with targeting Barrio 13 in Compton because the gang, which had historically not been a Compton gang, recently had committed a spike of crimes in the area of 137th Street and Wilmington. It was claiming the area on the north and south of those streets. Deputy Salgado is familiar with Hector, Jose, and Robles. Each is a member of Barrio 13 with gang tattoos and a gang moniker. Hector, Jose, and Robles were all active members of Barrio 13 on March 29th. Following the trial, the jury convicted Hector and his co-defendants of 3 counts of first-degree murder, robbery, and found true the special circumstance allegations, including gun and gang enhancements. The jury was unable to reach a verdict in the penalty phase of Hector's trial. Hector was sentenced to 3 consecutive terms of life without the possibility of parole, plus 3 terms of 25 years to life for the gun enhancements. The court also imposed a term of 3 years for the robbery, plus 10 years for the gang enhancement. Jose and Robles were each sentenced to 3 consecutive terms of life without the possibility of parole for the murders, plus 3 sentences of 25 years to life for the firearm enhancements. For the robbery, they received a term of 3 years plus 10 years for the gang enhancement. Andrew Williams was 31 years old at the time of death. Ronald Carter was 30 years old at the time of death. Sanisha Miller was 25 years old at the time of death.